There's a pattern you already know too well. Someone gets close, you feel seen, you feel understood, and then suddenly something switches inside you. You start pulling back, you avoid texts, you overthink their tone, you convince yourself that something is wrong, even when nothing is wrong. And before you know it, the connection fades or breaks, and you're left wondering why you keep sabotaging relationships you actually want. Most people think pushing others away is about not caring. But the truth is the opposite. You push people away because it matters, because connection activates the exact psychological wounds you've spent years trying to hide or control. This is the psychology of self-sabotage, the internal system that ruins your own chances at the closeness you crave. 1. You don't trust stability because you never had it. People who push others away are rarely afraid of love. They are afraid of what comes after love: disappointment, betrayal, loss, unpredictability. If your childhood taught you that, affection disappears, emotions explode unpredictably, support comes with conditions, or safety is temporary, then your nervous system learned to associate closeness with danger. So when someone starts caring about you, your brain doesn't relax. It tightens, it prepares, it anticipates something going wrong. And instead of waiting for that imagined disaster, you create distance first. Not because you want to lose the person, but because your mind learned that losing them is inevitable. In psychology, this is known as anxious avoidant conflict, wanting closeness but feeling unsafe inside it. It's not a personality flaw, it's a survival pattern. 2. You push people away to stay in control. When you've been hurt, abandoned, or judged before, you start to believe that the only safe relationship is the one you can manage, predict, or emotionally control. Letting someone in means they can change their mind, they can misunderstand you, they can leave, they can hurt you without warning. To avoid that uncertainty, you choose the certainty of distance. You tell yourself, if I end it first, I can't be rejected. If I don't rely on them, they can't disappoint me. If I stay guarded, they can't use anything against me. Self-sabotage feels like protection. Distance feels like power. But it's a false sense of control. You're not controlling the relationship. You're controlling your exposure to fear. And the more you do it, the smaller your emotional world becomes. 3. You believe you're too much or not enough. A lot of self-sabotage comes from a deeply internalized belief. If they really knew me, they wouldn't stay. This belief can come from being criticized growing up, having your feelings dismissed, being compared to others, or being shamed for your needs. When you don't feel inherently worthy, then any love you receive feels temporary, conditional, or unrealistic, so you sabotage it. You pull away because you assume the rejection is coming eventually. You distance yourself so the loss will hurt less. You hide parts of yourself to avoid judgment. You convince yourself they deserve someone better. This is called internalized unworthiness, and it functions like a filter. No matter how much love comes your way, your brain rejects it before you even have the chance to receive it. 4. You fear intimacy because it requires vulnerability. People assume pushing others away is always defensive, but sometimes it's simply this. Letting someone in requires showing them the truth, and for a lot of people, that truth is, you don't always have your life together. You're afraid, you've made mistakes, you feel insecure, you're still healing. You have emotional scars you don't want anyone touching. Vulnerability is the act of being seen without a mask. If your life experiences taught you that being vulnerable leads to embarrassment, criticism, or rejection, then intimacy becomes terrifying. Instead of letting people discover the messy parts of you, you shut the door. You withdraw. You become emotionally unavailable, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about being judged, misunderstood, or hurt again. 5. Your brain is wired for threat detection, not connection. Your nervous system carries memories, emotional, relational, and physical. If your past relationships taught you to stay alert, your body remains in a constant low-level threat state. So when someone new comes in, your brain scans them for inconsistencies, red flags, potential harm, emotional risk, signs they might leave, and the moment your brain detects even a tiny inconsistency, you panic and pull back. For you, pushing someone away is not about being cold, It's about reducing overstimulation from emotional uncertainty. This is called defensive overactivation. It's not conscious, it's biological. 6. You don't want to burden anyone with your emotions. Some people push others away because they were conditioned to handle everything themselves. If you grew up being the caretaker, emotional buffer, peacekeeper, problem solver, responsible one, then you learn to carry your emotions privately. You learn not to ask for help. You learn to minimize your needs. So when someone gets close and wants to support you, your instinct is to reject it. I can deal with it myself. I don't want to be a burden. They shouldn't have to handle my problems. You push them away because letting someone help you feels wrong. It feels unsafe. It feels unfamiliar. And unfamiliar can feel threatening. 7. You sabotage because you fear failure more than loneliness. Self-sabotage often comes from perfectionism, specifically relational perfectionism. If you believe relationships must be flawless, you must always be stable, you must never be needy, you must always handle things correctly, then the moment you mess up or feel insecure, you panic. You push people away because you don't want them to see the imperfect version of you. You'd rather lose the connection than risk being perceived as weak, emotional, annoying, or complicated. Behind this reaction is a core fear. If I fail at this relationship, it confirms everything I fear about myself. So instead of failing later, you leave early. You end things before your insecurities can be exposed. 8. You're addicted to emotional safety, not emotional growth. Connection requires growth. It requires openness. It requires stepping into experiences you can't fully predict or control, but self-sabotage is rooted in emotional comfort, the comfort of patterns you already know, even if those patterns are lonely, even if they hurt you, even if they keep you isolated. The brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar uncertainty. So even when someone good enters your life, your mind tries to push them away because they threaten your emotional rules. They challenge your worldview. They force you to confront the parts of yourself you hide. Self-sabotage becomes the anchor that pulls you back to what's familiar, even when you want something different. 9. You don't know who you are in healthy relationships. If your past relationships were chaotic, unbalanced, or emotionally draining, then healthy love might not feel natural to you. You may not recognize consistency, kindness, patience, emotional safety, clear communication. Instead, your brain is used to volatility, mixed signals, or emotional distance. So, when someone treats you well, you don't trust it. When someone is stable, you feel bored. When someone is honest, you feel suspicious. When someone genuinely cares, you assume they have ulterior motives. The problem isn't the connection, it's that you've never had a blueprint for healthy intimacy. Without a blueprint, you push people away because you don't know how to function in the presence of real, stable affection. 10. You push people away because you expect yourself to be alone. This is the hardest part to admit, but it's the most common emotional truth. Some people push others away because deep down, they believe they're meant to be alone. Not because they want loneliness, but because loneliness feels familiar, closeness feels temporary, people feel unreliable, trust feels risky, love feels like a setup for pain. So you self-sabotage before the world can sabotage you. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You expect abandonment, so you act in ways that create it. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your emotional system has been trained by experiences where connection was unpredictable or painful, and those experiences are still running the show. How to stop pushing people away. Awareness alone won't break the pattern. It's a starting point. But if you want to stop isolating yourself, you need to retrain your instincts, the automatic ways your mind and body react to closeness. It's not about forcing yourself to feel differently overnight. It's about learning a new way to exist in relation to others. 1. Notice the moment you start pulling away. There's a subtle signal before you disappear, a tightening in your chest, a sudden urge to check your phone, a mental excuse to leave. The faster you catch it, the less it controls you. That moment is a doorway, the first chance to choose differently rather than react automatically. 2. Don't believe every fear your mind creates. Your mind loves to imagine worst-case scenarios. It warns, protects, and spins stories of abandonment, judgment, or rejection. But just because it feels real doesn't make it true. Connection isn't dangerous, it's unfamiliar, and your body mistakes that unfamiliarity for threat. Learning to let the story go opens space for reality to step in. 3. Communicate discomfort instead of disappearing. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the right words or control every outcome. Simply naming what you feel. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Or, I don't know how to say this, but I need a moment. Shifts the dynamic. Disappearing avoids conflict, but creates distance. Speaking creates trust. 4. Let people show they can handle your emotions. You've probably assumed that sharing feelings is a burden, that vulnerability is too risky. But the truth is, people are capable of more than you think. Let someone witness your anger, sadness, or confusion without judgment. Let them stay. Allowing this shows you that closeness isn't a trap. It's a mirror of your own courage. 5. Build tolerance for emotional closeness. Intimacy is a skill, not an accident. Like any skill, it grows with practice. Start with small steps. A text, a call, a brief confession of what's on your mind. Every time you resist the urge to retreat, your capacity for closeness strengthens. It becomes easier, more natural, less frightening. 6. Choose one person to slowly let in. You don't have to open yourself to everyone. Trust is selective, and it should be. Start with someone who has shown consistency, patience, and care. Let them see you in small, unguarded moments. Over time, this one bond becomes a safe space, proof that connection can exist without betrayal. 7. Understand that connection requires risk. Connection is inherently risky. To love, to be seen, to allow someone close is to invite the possibility of loss. But risk is the price of intimacy. Without it, relationships remain superficial and life remains half-lived. Vulnerability is courage. It's the bridge between isolation and belonging. Pushing people away isn't who you are. It's what you learn to do to survive. It's a habit, a reflex, a way your mind and heart protect you from pain. But habits aren't permanent. Change begins when you notice yourself pulling back, when you speak even imperfectly, when you allow someone in despite the fear, when you practice closeness one small step at a time. Each act rewires you. Fear softens into trust. Distance turns into presence. What once felt dangerous slowly becomes familiar, even essential. You're not broken for pulling away. You're human, and you can learn to stay. Healing begins the moment you realize this. Connection isn't your enemy. Your past is. And you deserve a future where closeness doesn't feel like danger. It feels like home.